It is the final day of the Sailplane Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez with difficult weather, around 40 km/h north wind and a demanding task. I start with 15 points after an uneven week, still holding a narrow theoretical path to the podium. For that to happen, several outcomes across the grid must align, and small decisions in the air will matter. Stay for a straightforward look at the task, the weather and the choices that decide how this day ends.
They said it's a sketchy area too. It somehow reminds me to the Sailplane Grand Prix final in Turbulent, where we also got a tow through a city tour. I would make it back to the airfield to keep the speed. Rough, really rough.
Today's task covers 291 kilometers. The expected cloud base is around 2000 meters. The route crosses several different regions, making this a very technical flight. The first leg heads south over the flatter plateau before moving into higher mountain terrain. From there, a valley crossing leads northwest, where stronger northerly winds are expected. Finally, the route returns to Saint-Tropez. Even before the start line opened, getting into a good position was a real challenge.
Start line open in 2 minutes.
Just minutes before the start, a few pilots were still far too low. A tough beginning that would cost them right from the start of the race. Over the course of the Sailplane Grand Prix, I created 7 videos to bring you closer to the action. Huge thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring this film and supplying the 360-degree cameras we used to capture it.
I use here 2 Insta360 X5 cameras to capture the Sailplane Grand Prix.
One X5 sits on a SteFly suction cup mount inside the canopy, where the compact camera and mount keep my field of view essentially unobstructed while still covering both the instrument panel and the pilot. I mount and align the camera on the ground, verify framing and then power it on only at selected low workload moments in flight, so I never handle it during safety critical phases such as on the ridge, in a huge gaggle or at a low point during the competition flight. To avoid extra workload in the air, I use a second X5 on an invisible selfie stick primarily before the start gate opens, when I can safely capture a few exterior shots while waiting. Because nothing remains outside the airframe during the competition flight, the aerodynamics stay unchanged, unlike with a permanently mounted external camera. I briefly slide open the bad weather window, hold the camera outside and let the intelligent stitching remove the stick automatically, which produces a clean perspective that looks as if a second person filmed the glider. When conditions allow, I vary the stick position for context shots. For example, holding it under the wing shows a water ballast through the dump ports. The benefit of 8K 360-degree capture is straightforward. I choose framing later in Insta360 app, so there is no panning or re-aiming in flight necessary, which really helps in a gaggle or along a busy ridge. From one flight I cut a landscape version for YouTube long form and a portrait version for Instagram Reels without reshooting. With a normal action cam I would need to rotate the camera and record 2 separate takes. Check out the description for the exact gear and use my creator code to unlock special offers and directly support more gliding videos on my channel. Back to the start of the race.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Fortunately, I'm in a good position to make a perfect start. During the start, there are 3 main rules to follow. First, don't cross the start line before it opens. Second, stay below the maximum allowed altitude when crossing the line. Third, keep your ground speed below 190 km/h. Timing all of this perfectly isn't always easy. In this case, I'm a little late, but that's okay. My strategy is to head straight toward the clouds and get back to cloud base as quickly as possible. Ahead there is a blue hole, which makes it harder to see where the thermals are, and the conditions there are uncertain.
Nothing.
Unfortunately, the clouds don't provide good lift, so I have to keep going into the unknown. Finally, the first thermal to circle in. It's about time.
On your right,
Unfortunately, this thermal is quite broken up by the strong wind, and I'm not the only one to decide to move on. Spending too much time in a weak lift can quickly cost you several positions. Only if I finish on top of the podium today, I will still have a chance to move up in the overall ranking.
with you, Sierra. Max, thank you.
This thermal feels much better. Fortunately, Klaus Kalmbach found it and I can make use of it too. It's not always smart to fly ahead on your own and make independent decisions, but you will see later how that can go wrong. Looking at the landscape, it seems like a beautiful flight if it weren't for the tension of the final competition day. That pressure keeps me fully focused on maintaining the optimal circling speed and centering the thermal as precisely as possible. Soon we are leaving the thermal as well, hoping to find stronger lift under the first cumulus clouds ahead. It's looking really promising. It's working quite well here now, and it's important to gain some more altitude. With 30 to 40 kilometers an hour wind coming from the north, there is a simple tactical rule. Approach the first turn point as high as possible. When circling in thermals, you get drifted towards the turn point by the wind, which means the straight line distance becomes shorter, saving both time and energy. Fortunately, I was able to put that tactic into practice, and my position looks pretty good.
Look at this beautiful lake here. Lake de Saint Croix. And these are the clouds, and I am flying a lot of detour now.
The second leg went quite well. My strategy was simple: stay high and use good energy lines, so that on the third leg, which is completely into the wind, I can glide as long as possible against it. Only one pilot chose a different tactic, Stanislav, but more on that later. At the second turn point, things get interesting. We split up. Maximilian heads straight towards the higher mountains, Klaus stayed more in the middle, and I decided to go even further west. Unfortunately, I suddenly had an idea from flying in flatlands, to follow energy lines under the clouds and try to fly the upwind leg with as little circling as possible.
Oh shit. Why? Looked so much better on this side here that I made the detour, and now it's not working.
Now I see Björn and Klaus climbing really well, about 90 degrees to my right, maybe 3 kilometers or even more away. The climb looks great, both visually and on the flarm. But if I go there now, my whole detour will have been for nothing. I'd drop behind. Ahead of me there's another cloud line. There must be good lift somewhere there.
Ah, come on, that can't be true. Why?
Desperately and maybe a bit tense, I search along the cloud, but no, nothing useful.
It is just sad. Just so sad.
There's nothing left to do but keep gliding towards Saint-Aubin. I just can't believe what's happening. Even though it's tough, the time-lapse mode of the Insta360 X5 lets me take another close look at the cloud formations. You can clearly see the structure and how it changes over time. But on this particular day, not much was happening up there. Looking back now, would I make the same decision again with these recordings in mind? Probably not. The detour was too long and there was another cloud line a bit further to the right. Arriving at the home ridge near Saint-Aubin, I realize, just as I feared, that the wind at around 30 km an hour is blowing almost parallel to the slope. As a result, there's very little ridge lift and above all, it's quite turbulent, which can lead to dangerous situations. I try to circle to gain some altitude, but even with decent ridge lift, I'm actually too low. Below me, there's a power line, which makes flying close to the slope impossible. It's not really working, so I keep going. As a backup, the airfield in Saint-Aubin is slowly getting out of reach, so I need to keep an eye on possible outlanding fields within gliding distance, just in case.
Everything what I do is here really shit.
In the meantime, what's happening with the others? Stanislav has flown up the Durance Valley in very low ridge lift and is struggling to find a way into the higher terrain. Still, he's incredibly fast. Most of the others are regrouping and already taking the third turn point.
I made the decision to call it a day, fly back home, go to the pool. I already had here some conditions which are absolutely not worth to risk the life, and it was my highest priority not to crash during the Sailplane Grand Prix because it's the most dangerous competition, gliding competition. We lost already, I think, 3 people, at least 2 or 3 more severe crashes during the years, and yeah, it's just not worth it. And of course I made a big mistake. I flew below the nicest cumulus clouds, but somehow they didn't work. I wanted to finish today, I wanted to make the task and not fly back home. I think it's not the sportive way to do so, but because, yeah, my concentration's already down and I don't want to crash. Let's fly back home, direct, go to the pool. Was a nice competition, thanks to the organizers. Congratulations already to the winners of the Sailplane Grand Prix. Just something I need to learn more. It's it is not my area where I'm comfortable to fly, where I have the knowledge, and of course I made some super stupid mistakes from day to day, and especially yesterday I was so sad that I made this really stupid mistake to follow the local guys when I already made some mistakes not to follow the local guys the day before. So in general I'm super unhappy with my sportive result, but that's it, and highest priority was to get back home safely so that I can do the sport for many more years and don't crash like some other legends. Yeah, that's it for now. I hope I will make it back to the airfield, make a nice landing, direct, and call it a day.
Now that I'm already alone near the airfield, I take the time to pull out the Insta360 X5 with a selfie stick and film as I dump the water ballast.
Donc j'appelle Maximilien Seyss France.